Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Well you guys, we are back in Potomac. I am so sorry I have not covered a lot of Salt Lake City this season. Honestly, the whole reason why I do this channel is just to have some fun outside of my work and personal life. And so I really want to make the videos on things that I'm actually, passionate about and having fun with. Absolutely no shade to the amazing Salt Lake City editors, but I just haven't had that much fun this season where I feel like I'm watching a scene and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to share this with them. There have been moments like I did a super cut for you guys a couple videos back, but I just haven't been inspired enough to come to the mic and come to the camera and share with you guys, so I really apologize. No shade to Salt Lake City. Also, Miami, it's just so weird. I absolutely love Miami, but sometimes I'm watching Miami and I'm just not, I don't know, again, I'm just not as inspired to come and talk to you guys about specific edits and things like that, which is really, why I'm here. I think the thing with Miami is it is produced so well and it's almost like it's got a very like Selling Sunset sheen. It just doesn't have that same sort of raw reality feel that gets me excited to talk about editing. I know that sounds so weird, but like I would never break down the editing of a scripted show for you guys because it just doesn't excite me, I guess, as much as taking footage that's a little bit more raw and trying to make something out of it. That's always been more exciting for me, documentaries, true crime, reality, and stuff like that. Not that I don't love scripted, I love White Lotus, but I could never sit down and break down White Lotus. I could obviously tell you guys reasons why I thought maybe they did things, but for the most part, it's just not as inspiring to me. So maybe that's why I don't cover Miami. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking the videos. All of that stuff helps so much. I get the most amazing comments. Every morning I wake up, I literally look at my app and I'm like, okay, what have people said today? Because you guys have such great insights. So keep them coming. I've told you guys before, I'm gonna be doing more lives so that I can kind of catch you guys right after the episode actually airs. I bought something new for my setup. I'm so excited. My new live setup is actually gonna look pretty much just like this. So I'm very excited because it's gonna feel like we're all home. So if you're not subscribed, just subscribe, give me a chance. And before I talk your ear off, let's just jump right into it.
Is this where we're going?
Oh yeah, this is where we're going.
Oh, nice.
Welcome to the Finca. Please allow me to continue.
Oh, okay.
We're sitting outside.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
What is the birthday girl?
Okay, so first things first, I'm always surprised how they show, in so many scenes, they show them walking into the restaurant, like from the hostess stand all the way to the table. And it always makes me laugh. I'm sure you guys did too, but I was a hostess all through college. It was one of my 3 jobs, I think, at the time. And I just remember that like walk so well. It was always like, you get the customers, you take the amount of menus, and then you walk, and they used to like coach you like, okay, don't walk too fast, don't walk too slow, take them the long way if they're still cleaning it. It was just this whole thing. Every time they show the whole thing, of their whole walk, I'm always like, why did the editors waste time putting that in? But really, I think it's more just to make it more of like a relatable moment for us. I know there's a little bit of buildup happening too, but I think it really does kind of have this like relatable feeling to it. Like, oh my gosh, when I go to a restaurant, I follow the hostess and kind of wander aimlessly looking around at how beautiful the restaurant is too. Not like I've been out to eat like I don't know, how old's my oldest? My oldest child is 6 years, so I haven't really been out to eat in like 6.5 years, but I digress. We can talk more about that later.
The birthday girl want to sit?
I'm gonna sit here.
Thank you. Okay.
This is nice, guys.
Did Giselle tell you I saw her on a date?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
This is the guy from
Okay, so, they immediately go into, Ashley immediately goes into some sort of gossip with Giselle. I don't know if they sat down at the table and maybe had more small talk before jumping into this, but it kind of tracks that that's not just like an editor's thing, that Ashley definitely, she likes to just jump right into it. Hey, I saw you on a date. And Giselle, of course, as she's wont to do, is very kind of cagey about her personal life. Now, I don't think that Gisela is like one of those housewives, like she who shall not be named, who actually left the franchise the other day, which, you know, it was a toss-up for me. I kind of wanted her to stay and have them bring in some people that could maybe, you know, like get a little bit more out of her, but you know, it didn't work out. I don't think that Giselle is someone who like guards her storylines, but I think in general, Giselle is a very guarded person. I think that's kind of where people say she's mean and stuff like that. I think she's a great housewife. I think she can be totally mean and totally catty and all those things. But I just feel like there's this guarded thing to her, and she doesn't like to be vulnerable. She doesn't like to show emotion. I'm sure that's not a great attribute to have for her in a relationship. I think her previous husband hurt her a lot. So I see a lot of shells when it comes to Giselle and talking about her personal life, especially like her dating life. So Ashley says like, oh yeah, I saw you on a date. And she's like, I forgot about that. Like, no, you didn't. I just wanted to point that out. Like, you didn't forget about that. You probably thought about that 100 times, but you just want to make it seem like, it's no big deal. Anyway.
From your dad's birthday.
Yes. Steve is a great guy. I've known him for about 30 plus years. And he's just
so as she's doing the confessional, you guys know this if you've watched my channel, they cut to her, you know, sort of like a reaction shot of her. I've always thought that they cut to these reaction shots almost like the reactions are hearing what the person is saying in the confessional and reacting to it. They picked this shot of Giselle where she's kind of looking around almost like she's just like, I don't know, it's this weird thing. We've all been there where we're like trying to act nonchalant about a moment, but like maybe we're proud of it, or maybe we're kind of embarrassed by it, or maybe like there's just something, there's more going on here, but they wanted to show that, so they put it in over her confessional. I was very like curious to see why the editors picked that. They could have picked anything. They could have picked her laughing and smiling and, you know, putting her napkin on her lap or whatever, but they picked this thing of her looking kind of confused and kind of guarded and kind of like, you know, ask me more, but don't ask me more types of vibes. It's just interesting, an interesting choice.
And he's just always someone that's been in my life. I think I've tried to kick him out of my life a couple times, but he's going nowhere.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Ashley? Nice to meet you. You and Giselle are friends?
Yeah.
Yes, last time I checked. We're still friends, right?
Did you kiss afterwards?
Okay. So she says, you know, he's tried to leave my, you know, I've tried to kick him out of my life. And then they cut to this flashback where it's kind of, you know, he's alluding to like, we're still cool, right? To her. I know that the editors are proving her point where she's saying like, you know, I've tried to kick him out. I'm not sure. I think you guys tell me what you think. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he's just making one of those jokes. I don't know if she's really tried to kick him out of her life. I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. I really felt like, if anything, she'd just be like, maybe just ghost him for a while or something like that. What she's trying to put off to me in this cut is sort of that she's like, doesn't need him, doesn't need anyone. I mean, she really has that, I think, in spades. Like, I don't need anyone. I don't know. We've also seen the stuff with her and Chris where she's acting like he wanted her. So maybe she's trying to put it off like, oh, he wants her so bad. And she's tried to rebuke his offers so many times. I don't know what it is. But anyway, when they cut to him doing that, I was kind of like, I think he's just making a joke. I think I've made that joke before. Like, people will be like, oh, is this your friend? You're like, I think so. You know, it's just a joke. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear it.
Did we? Yes. The tongue was controlled.
What are the main characteristics?
Okay, so of course she's like, oh, did we kiss? Like, Giselle, you know whether you kiss someone or not. When she acts like this, it's like the lady doth protest too much. I'm like, she's been thinking about this kiss like 24/7. It's like when you think about something so much and someone finally asks you about it and you're like, oh yeah. But it's been like on a loop on your mind. That was the vibe I got. After she says the thing about the tongue, the girls go crazy, right? Ashley and Karen. And then they cut back to her and she's giving sort of like an uncomfortable look. And now they cut to the confessional. And I just thought that was interesting. They keep showing Giselle uncomfortable when she's talking about her love life. Now it could have happened like that exactly, you know, at the table, and that's what the editors are portraying. But they also could have cut that stuff out and just made it seem like it was more like a light, fluffy conversation between girlfriends. But what we're getting are a lot of like tense facial expressions from Giselle, starting with that one I talked about previous, you know, during the confessional. And then even here when they react to her with the tongue thing, like, don't you think like a normal reaction, if you said that to your girlfriends and then they screamed, oh my God, you're so whatever, wouldn't a normal reaction be like you laughing and screaming with them, or sort of like, you know, just I don't know, just looser. She just seems so tense when it comes to this stuff. Oh my gosh, the amount of hate I got in the comments for even saying that I like Giselle. I had people like, oh my God, guys, it's not that serious. I like her as a housewife. Would I like want her to be my very best friend? No, she would tell everyone all my secrets. No, but I think she's a great housewife. Don't come for me. Like, this is all fun and games. If you don't want this to be fun and games, this is not the channel for you, because I do not take this too seriously. I love all of you, you know, I love all of you, stay. But if it's very serious for you, you might want to go somewhere else. Anyway, so she to me, this is the part of Giselle that like makes me feel for her. Whenever she's with her daughters and she's doing the daughter stuff, I really feel for her. But every time I see her, and she doesn't even like, she doesn't act like a victim. She doesn't like try to put this on. But when I do see her sort of in this, like, I'm not going to be vulnerable at like hard shell mode, it just makes me feel for her. And honestly, I really relate to her in a different way. And I wonder if they know that. And that's why they kind of put those moments in so that we can see her not just being light and fun when she's talking about dating. She's also got a lot of tension. I think she's got a lot of baggage when it comes to that stuff.
The main characteristics, you need to make me laugh. I have a big dick. That's pretty much it. Oh, hi, sure.
Okay, so that really made me laugh when I first watched it, for the obvious reason of just the joke in there, but also her prolonged laugh and them letting it play out the entire thing. And then she says,
that's pretty much it.
And then they do this ding, and they cut right to Karen on that bell ring. Oh. Brevity is the soul of wit. So cutting that short right after she said that's pretty much it, cutting right out and going to Karen and then using that ding sound, it just, all of it together makes that so much funnier. After she said that's pretty much it, they could have left a couple seconds on the end of her confessional and then cut to Karen with no sound, and it wouldn't have been as funny. It wouldn't have evoked like a laugh out of the audience maybe as much as it did using that stuff. So it's just an example there of like how they can use sound and cuts to make things more enjoyable for your audience. Of course, you know about it like with dramatic moments and stuff, how they can dramatize stuff, but seeing it and how they can make comedic moments is so important and so fun to look at too. So important. It's not that important. Let me go back to that. No, it's not that important, but it's very fun to watch.
Oh, hi, Charrisse. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Shasha.
They have Giselle changing the direction of the conversation to Charrisse. I don't even know if Charrisse was in her eye line at that point, because when they cut to Charrisse actually walking in, it looks like she's walking into them to actually being in her eye line. So I don't know. They wanted to show those reaction shots of Ashley where she sort of changes her expression when Charrisse comes because she knows there's sort of an issue with Karen and Charrisse. And then that reaction shot from Karen where she's looking like uncomfortable. So they might have brought Giselle saying hi Charrisse in before she really actually saw Charrisse, because they wanted to show those reaction shots, if that makes sense. Okay, so then the editors are really using nature. They've done it from episode 1, you know, flowers blooming and going back in and fading to black and white, and, you know, lots of thunder and showing rivers and oceans and storms. All of that really is just this like kind of fun symbolism to like the women and their relationships, right? That's what I see it as. So dramatic, almost melodramatic, of these like storms and this wind and all this stuff. All they're really trying to do is sort of symbolize the women and their relationships in these little interstitials where they're showing nature wherever they are. And of course, they're gonna show here an ocean starting to, you know, get stormy, because that's what they're kind of moving into here. There's obviously a fight going on with Charrisse and Karen coming up, so they wanna kind of show like, this is about to come.
Oh, hi, Charrisse. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Shasha.
How are you? Sure. So how's Michael? Because today's
And that little like, was it that little like drum roll? It really was giving me White Lotus vibes. To me, White Lotus, the best thing about it, especially season 1, was the score. It was so amazing, and it had this like kind of tribal like vibe to it, very eerie and very in your face and loud at some points, and then just these little stingers every once in a while. Oh my gosh, I get the chills literally just thinking about that score. But I felt like when they brought in that little sound, it was hearkening me back to White Lotus. And that there is just sort of like a tension building sound again, right? As she's sitting down, instead of giving her like a dun or something like that, it's a little bit more of like a building and then the sound goes out, right? So a lot of stuff to kind of give suspense or feeling of sort of like, ooh, like something's coming. They'll do a lot of like swell, 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 pull it out. You'll see it in horror movies all the time. And that to me was a great example of it.
So how's Michael? Because
got
today's
me.
your birthday.
Yeah, he gave me balloons and everything. Had the kids have hats on and sing happy birthday to me.
Oh, that was nice.
Really sweet. I don't know.
Okay, so they cut the tension by going to Ashley's storyline, which is her with Michael. As she's talking about it, they cut to Wendy coming in. So you can see with these scenes, what they're really, as always, you guys, they're building, but they're not only building just with storyline and sort of building to this fight that's gonna go down with Karen and Charrisse, but they're building also with characters, right? We started with Ashley, Karen, and Giselle, then we added Charrisse. So it's like a recipe, if you can think of it, like a big bowl. You have your characters in there, you're adding some spice, you're adding some salt, you're adding all this stuff to create what everyone's waiting for, right? The main dish. They added Charrisse, now they're gonna ask about storyline from Ashley, she's gonna bring it in, and then they're gonna start bringing Wendy in. So there's all sorts of pieces kind of coming to the table.
I don't know. I really don't know I don't know what to make of this situation.
Wendy! Hey!
You know, I was holding Dean, like sitting right here.
Yeah.
So as she's talking, right, Wendy obviously enters the chat and they're going to have her continue to talk while Wendy's like hugging Karen. Now, I don't know if that's actually how it happened, but the editors obviously wanted to keep this scene and the storyline kind of moving even as Wendy came in, because Wendy doesn't really have like major tension with anyone at the table at this point. Mia's not there yet. So it's not like Wendy's entrance is like super eventful. So they're gonna keep going with this storyline piece. So you can see that you don't even see Ashley really talking when Wendy comes in and hugs Karen. So they might have just had the audio continue to go to make it seem like she was continuing as Wendy was sitting down.
On Dean's knee,
Yeah.
and his hand was right, and so we like locked hands and we just like held hands.
Oh, Lord.
It's not over till it's over.
Yeah.
Okay, so as she's kind of telling this story, then you hear that sound, a different type of sound, almost like a cymbal sound.
Like held hands.
Oh, Lord.
Michael Darby is, you know, not our favorite house husband, but I also am of the mind, I don't know what you guys are gonna think about this, but I used to, like, you know, if the friends group or something, someone would be dating like this bad guy, and everyone in the friends group would be like, oh my gosh, he doesn't deserve her. And then they'd be together for another, you know, 8 months, year, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, he just doesn't deserve her. And I was kind of always of the mind of like, yeah, he does, because he has her. There's obviously stuff that's going on with this person, you know, whether or not she's our friend, but there's something about her that's aligning with him at this time. And I'm not talking about like an abusive situation. Obviously that creates a whole different dynamic. I'm just talking about those regular, you know, relationships where you see someone and you're like, oh man, like she really could do so much better. And it's like, maybe not. Maybe that's actually right in line with her. I don't know. Like, it's funny how everyone says, like, Michael Darby's such a bad guy. And then the comments I get that you guys talk about Ashley, you guys are like, oh my gosh, Ashley's such a snake. Like, she throws her friends under the bus and she's always talking this and that. And she's just a bad friend. And she's so messy. But then everyone's like, but I'm so glad she's getting away from Michael Darby. I'm like, that sounds like a match made in heaven. Why are we all trying to like push them to not be together? She knew he was a bad guy. It's not like they had this idyllic marriage and then all of a sudden he cheated on her once and now she's leaving. That would be a totally different situation. Like this has been going on. If you guys have been watching Potomac, this has been a constant thing. He assaulted allegedly assaulted a camera person on the set of Real Housewives of Potomac. Like, how much lower can you go? I mean, you can go a lot lower, but I mean, for her, like not only has it made her embarrassed and humiliated her, but it probably could have almost cost her her job. There's so much with him going on. I am just always blown away how people can separate out like, oh, Ashley's a monster, but I'm so glad she's leaving him. I'm like, it just doesn't seem to make sense. He's the father of her children, and that bond, honestly, what she needs to do, Ashley, if you're listening, you have to not see the man for like, I had a therapist once tell me 90 days is like the way you can kind of cleanse yourself from someone. I know you are co-parenting, Ashley, but you can co-parent and not have moments where you're sitting together like within hand-holding distance. Having children together, I think, is a really bonding thing. And anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just feel like if you really don't want to be around him, you can't like buy a house with him, even if it's under an LLC. You can't sit next to him at the birthday party. You just can't do it. Anyway, end rant. So of course, after Ashley says all that stuff, you know, they get the reactions. They get the reactions from Giselle, everyone else around the table. They're obviously concerned, but they're also like, I guess, annoyed at this sort of back and forth. And I guess I do understand it. But what they're really trying to do as the editors, they have to push this storyline forward. We haven't seen her, you know, shopping for a house. Obviously, Michael's not coming to this season at all. So they have to show that Ashley's like, you know, going back and forth in this situation, and they have to leave it in for that reason, I guess.
They're prepared for you. It's with mezcal.
I'd like a red wine, please.
Red wine? Okay.
Yes.
Whatever she has.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how to make an old fashioned?
Old fashioned?
Yes, please.
I'll try your mezcal.
Mezcal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then they go from this very serious subject of, you know, custody between Ashley and Michael and everything that's going on there to ordering drinks. And you can even hear that the editors kind of make it like, oh, this is like light and silly and almost like silly that we're showing you this because of the music cue that comes in.
Yes.
Whatever she has.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how to make an old fashioned?
Old fashioned?
It's got almost sort of like a cartoony feel to it. They always do this in moments, especially when they go from like a dark, heavy moment to a light moment. To me, it's almost like, it sounds so silly, but like the music that would be going on in someone's brain. It's got a very like childish feel to it. I don't know how to explain it, but also very relatable because that's how life is, right? We're constantly like in and out of like dark, heavy moments, or not dark, heavy, but you know, darker moments to lighter moments to being like seriously worried about something to being worried about something not so serious. And it's just kind of how we live our lives. And I think the housewives really illuminate that stuff.
Mezcal?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, sure.
Champagne.
Perfect.
Hey, tried and true. How are you feeling?
Okay, so again, we're adding more to the pot as they are ordering their drinks. We have this clip of Mia walking in. It's the back of her, and we're sort of getting like a POV, but with her in the shot as she's walking into the restaurant. So we know she's coming. And then what do we cut to? We cut to Ashley asking Wendy how she's feeling. Now remember, Wendy and Mia have this sort of, you know, there's a tension between them. So checking in with Wendy this is the perfect time for the editors to put this in there. Whether or not it actually happened that way, it's the absolute perfect time.
Oh, look at this ensemble. Oh, you have a tattoo?
I have 5 of them.
Oh. Hi, ladies.
I loved that reaction from Ashley sort of being like, oh, you're different than what I thought.
5 of them.
Oh.
Wendy is definitely growing on me, especially more this season. I don't know what you guys think, but it's just really fun to kind of watch her blossom and bloom in this.
Hello. We're hungry.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Y'all good? Are you having a good birthday?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. We're missing.
Okay, so I could just feel the awkwardness from Mia. I don't know about you guys, but like if you've ever come in something late, especially, you know, if there's tension, you know, at the table, or you have tension with someone at the table, which I don't really have tension with people at the table, but I can just feel it. I can feel how that would feel to walk in. You feel like, oh, have people been talking about me? You know, she's trying to keep it light. They show this reaction shot of Wendy. It's not, you favorable. Every person that's being added to the table, and I just wonder if production tells them to get to the restaurant at different times and actually plans out who should come in first, who should come in next, to actually build like the tension that they want. If Mia and Wendy were sitting at the table at the very beginning, it just would have been a different feeling, a lot more anticlimactic than having her come in after like 3 people.
Yes, there's trickling in.
Jacqueline should be coming.
Just come on. Thank you.
Okay. So, she said, we're missing a few people. And then, of course, what does Ashley say? Jacqueline should be coming, because, of course, that's what Mia means, because Mia and Jacqueline are sort of in this feud right now. So she's like, oh, don't worry, Jacqueline will be coming. And then Giselle says, fill it up, basically, about her wine glass. And that's when the music kind of comes in, sort of like a fun track.
Thank you.
It kind of puts us in the like, ooh, this is fun, and also like we're preparing for some drama, right? It's almost like Giselle is like getting the popcorn ready. That's the vibe I got from it. Like, fill up the wine glass. Jacqueline's about to come. This is going to get good. I just felt that sort of vibe from it, and the music and everything.
I know y'all hoes ain't not waiting for us. Y'all done ate already.
We have not eaten.
Well, here we come. Hello.
Just such a great Karen moment. We have Candace walking in, saying her one line, looking gorgeous. And sometimes Candace reminds me of her mom so much. I can't explain it. Like, I don't even know her mom, but I feel like there's sometimes moments where I see people and I'm just like, your mom is just shining through right now. And that was a particular moment where I felt like her mom was just shining through. And then Karen, it was almost like Karen was speaking back to her mom. I just felt that. I don't know why. It was just funny to me.
Hi. Everyone looks nice.
Love this. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi.
How are you?
And then, of course, so this scene is on the heels of Mia and Jacqueline sort of having that fight where Jacqueline cried and said, I would never, sleep with your husband. So there's tension there. Jacqueline walks by Mia. They still have this music going that is kind of started out with Giselle saying, fill up the wine glass. They're really just setting up tension with this, using the music, we're still adding spices to the bowl of the meal. And so they brought in Candace and Jacqueline. And obviously now the tension is even more because there was tension between Mia and Wendy. There's tension between Karen and Charrisse. Now there's tension between Jacqueline and Mia. It's like everything is adding. It's just like shaking up a can of soda or something, or a bottle of soda. Then when you twist off that bottle top, what is going to happen. Same thing here. The more stuff we add to this bottle of soda, we know the explosion is just imminent.
Okay.
Would you like something to drink now? Would you like a mascalita?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Can I do it?
And I love how when they cut to Robin walking in, they cut to her and she's like almost kind of falling on her shoe, which I think is just like very characteristic of Robin. To me, whenever Robin is dressed up, she's a beautiful woman, don't get me wrong, but she always looks like she's like playing dress up, like she's uncomfortable in it. You know how some women just like, when they just dress up, like Candace to me is a perfect example. They just look like they're like, literally, I just woke up like this. Like they everything's just effortless on them. I'm definitely more of a Robin. Like when I get dressed up, I feel like sometimes I'm like hobbling, like everything feels weird. I feel her, but I just wanted to point out that the editors picked that one moment as she's walking up to the dinner where she's sort of like adjusting. They could have picked a moment where she wasn't doing that, but they wanted to pick that. I don't necessarily see it as shade. I see it as kind of character development, if you will.
Can I do a Tangerine tonic with a double toast? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm late. Okay,
Yes.
can you tell us what this is?
Yes. We got shrimp tacos, pastor tacos.
Okay, so, Robin comes in and now they're doing the ordering, more drinks, the food is coming, light and breezy. Oh my gosh, we're just having a dinner. But those of you who have watched my channel before, you guys know the drill. All this is doing is leading us up to the moment they have to make it feel light and easy so that when the fight hits between Charrisse and Karen, it's very impactful. If they didn't have all these light moments and they just went straight to it, it just wouldn't hit us the same way.
Pastor tacos, fish tacos, and octopus.
Oh, thank you.
That was funny. So just like a little light moment. They had the guy like rattling off the ingredients, and when he said octopus, you know, you got the reactions from everyone plus this huge sound effect.
Oh.
It's really just a button on what he's saying to kind of make it funny, like, oh, no, so gross, you know, just silly stuff.
Everyone got gifts today.
Did you see yours?
I did.
Yeah.
So it was a bridal veil, and it said bride. It was very.
So that reaction from Candace when she says everybody got gifts today, I don't think that reaction was actually to Ashley saying that. That shot to me felt like Candace looking at someone and having like an inside joke with them. And I know that kind of works with it because she gave everyone vibrators. But I don't think Candace and Ashley, first of all, have that kind of, you know, relationship. I don't know who Candace is really looking at. It just felt like an out of place reaction, and I like to point those out to you guys.
It was very cute. It said bride to be, and I walked outside, and it blew away.
Not it blew away.
It blew away. I was like, oh no! I spent a lot of time shopping.
That was my favorite line in the episode.
Not it blew away.
It blew away.
That was just so funny to me. I don't know what you guys think. Of course it blew away. You know what I mean? Like, and out of all the ways for that to end, of course Robin's going to have that thing blow away because this wedding is like, is it happening? You know, no one really believes it's happening. Karen's shading it. Everyone's kind of being quiet about it, but they all know kind of what's happening. And then for the thing to blow away, and Wendy says that little aside, it just made me laugh.
Spent a lot of time shopping for that.
The veil was like, bye, bitch. You ain't getting married. We heard this for 7 years. You tell everybody this goddamn lie with that fake ass ring. I'm like, what the hell? Even the veil knew to get the fuck out the room.
Well, did Giselle tell you what her gift was?
Karen. Sometimes Karen goes so hard. She reminds me of one of those people. She seems like sensitive, and then she just, when she like lashes out, it's almost like out of character. Like what she just said right there.
Tell everybody this goddamn lie with that fake ass ring. I'm like, what the hell? Even the veil knew to get the fuck out the room.
I know it's like lighthearted, but it had a little bit of an edge to it where I'm like, whoa, that's like borderline mean. And are you a mean person? I don't know.
Did Giselle tell you what her gift was?
I got a flashlight, yes, because Karen said she wants me to also get a car.
And y'all ain't funny.
Y'all weren't there, so the question was.
Okay, so of course they go into this thing, you know, this thing about Mia and Jacqueline, you know, and they cut to Mia saying,
And y'all ain't funny.
and then they cut to Jacqueline sort of with this look on her face that doesn't look happy at all. I don't know if that reaction shot actually happened there, but they did want to show like Mia's saying like, you know, it's not funny. Jacqueline's like, it's not funny. And everyone else is laughing. And then the music shifts.
Y'all weren't there.
Which should kind of put us in a tense mode. Like, are we going to get back into this Jacqueline Mia thing? Are we really going to go there again? We should be kind of wondering.
Do you look at your vagina with a mirror? Just check.
Pretty regularly. It's since I've had kids, you know, to make sure things are like.
Okay, so I'm starting now because I want to like
appreciate what it looked like now.
the memory of it be.
Okay, so this is sort of like a bonding moment between Ashley and Candace, right? They're talking about this stuff. I think Candace and Ashley are like that will they or won't they like friendship. Like we just want them to be friends so bad. And when they are friends, when they like get together, when they got together at Candace's house and we're talking junk, like those two to me are like great friends. Like they should be friends. They would be the funniest friends ever, but they'll never fully trust each other. Or I think Candace will never fully trust Ashley. And so it'll just never really work. But it's one of those friendships that like when we do see them sort of going back and forth, like right here, we're just like, oh, like wouldn't that be so sweet if they could actually, you know, lean into it.
Of it before it gets all stretched out and stuff. I did think I was pregnant for like 2 seconds. I'm waiting on my period.
What do you mean?
I don't know where it went.
So, you know, they're kind of, you guys can see in the scene, this is really why I wanted to break this down. They're hitting storylines on all the ladies. We've hit Robin's storyline with the wedding stuff. We've hit Ashley with, you know, Michael Darby. We've hit Giselle in the dating pool. We've had Charrisse walk in and seen Karen's reaction, which is, you know, a big storyline for Karen that she and Charrisse don't get along. We have Candace trying to get pregnant and doing the in vitro or the egg retrieval and all of that. So they're kind of hitting everyone's storylines. We have the Mia and Jacqueline stuff, and at the same time building tension of like what's going to explode at this dinner. This is just an ideal Housewives scene to me where we kind of get a little piece of everyone, but we still get some drama. Love it.
I was not.
Oh, okay.
But it's good because I'm getting ready to restart IVF in a few weeks. I was definitely like a little disappointed that I wasn't pregnant.
So the music shifts again, of course, because she's talking about something that's a little bit more sensitive.
I was definitely like a little disappointed.
It goes into kind of a little bit more of a sentimental feel. Imagine if they had like the cue, you know, remember the music that was playing when Giselle was like, fill up my wine glass. Imagine that underneath this. We would be like, wait, what? They're cueing us on how to feel, but they're also being appropriate with what is being shared on screen as well.
But I feel like I'm getting a second chance to get it right and hopefully have a successful egg retrieval this time.
It's so hot.
So the one thing I saw with that was it felt very relatable, that entire confessional, not for the actual what she's talking about, but the way that they were covering the confessional. Covering meaning like covering up what she was saying. I can hear in the edit that she had a lot of pauses as she was talking about that, and they had to cut out the pauses just for time's sake. In editing software, I'm gonna do a very simple, example of it, but they're layers, right? Picture like the bottom layer is audio, the main layer or the middle layer is picture, which is what you see on your screen, and then the top layer is like, titles and text, the chyrons, anything like that, that's on top. It's much more complicated than that, but I'm trying to simplify it. Sometimes when the audio, say if I do a sentence and I'm talking to you guys, if I was to take a lot of pauses in what I was saying and sort of go on a tangent and then come right back, I might want to cut that up and take out the tangents, take out the pauses, and just make it sound like one sentence. I do it all the time on this channel because I'm trying to get better at doing less ums, uhs, likes, all of these little ticks that are so annoying, I'm sure, for you guys to listen to. So you can see they're using a lot of coverage in this confessional. I can tell they're cutting out a lot of pauses and tangents and things like that.
It's so hot.
It is very
Okay. Karen, are you planning anything tomorrow or it's just Ashley?
Ashley is the activity person. She's gonna have y'all swinging from ropes and everything.
Okay, so
Okay. So they shift the conversation from this kind of darker stuff that Candace is talking about, or more serious stuff, I should say, not darker. And Giselle is like, okay, who's the activities person, right? And then Karen starts saying, Ashley's the activities person. And then we kind of see Ashley texting. At that moment, I felt like Ashley was texting Michael Darby. I don't know what you guys thought, but I just felt like that was going on. Then they cut off what Karen's saying and they do some coverage, just like I was telling you guys before, of some of these desserts to kind of show what's on the table, but probably also to kind of mess with Karen's audio there.
From ropes and everything.
okay, so I have a confession to make. Charrisse. Oh Lord. I did tell Karen that you posted the video because you didn't get invited to the live show. That's not totally true.
So here comes Giselle. Here comes Giselle. I feel like we should have a song every time because Giselle, when she comes around with some drama, she just loves bringing the drama. So she's like, I have a confession, let me bring the mess on, right? And she says,
I did tell Karen that you posted the video because you didn't get invited to the live show.
Basically, Giselle's like, how can I stir the pot right now in this dinner scenario? They cut to Charrisse, and Charrisse is just like, I can't believe we're going to be going into some drama right now, even though I just want to be like, Charrisse, that's what the show is all about. It's almost like she's annoyed anytime drama comes up, and I'm like, that's why you're here on this trip. That's what we're doing here. Are we not? Anyway, okay. So
it's a live show.
That's not totally true. Because I didn't care about not being invited.
Okay, true. Fact.
That's not what you told me.
Well, I missed, but go ahead. Continue on.
Now, when I posted it, did I think?
Okay, so just a quick, very technical note. You can see that the entire table is kind of like in a horseshoe position, meaning all the ladies on the left side of the table. You've got Mia at the head of the table, and then a bunch of ladies on the right side. You have no one, with their back to the camera, and that really is on purpose. They do that on sets for, sitcoms or TV shows or anything like that. For a very clean shot, you're just gonna do it in sort of like a horseshoe position so that the cameras can catch as much of the action as they can. They would have to have a camera on the other side getting the person who was straight across from Mia, but then that camera person would be in the shot and it would kind of ruin the illusion. So you'll see horseshoe position in scenes all the time. Of course, you have scenes where they're sitting around a table and there's people, you know, there's camera people filming all around the table, but for the most part where they can do it, they do it in the horseshoe position.
Okay. Now, when I posted it, did I think you may not have liked it? Probably not.
No, I don't dislike it. Honestly, what I don't like is that you didn't send it to me.
Okay, so if you guys can hear something very specific right now is that there is what? Ding ding ding. No music.
Posted it, did I think you may not have liked it? Probably not.
No music whatsoever. So we've kind of gone over the different cues that have gone on during this dinner to sort of illuminate what's going on screen. But now that we're sort of getting into the real drama, they pull out all of the music. Again, if you've watched my channel, I talk about this as really a technique to sort of like pull the air out of the room. It's kind of quiet, you can hear a pin drop. It's to raise tension in us. It's to kind of give us that like what's gonna happen feel, whether we know why or not, it gives us a little bit more tension.
And you're constantly asking me, why aren't we friends, or you know, something to that nature. And for me, I was like, okay, this would have been a perfect funny thing to send me. We could have moved on. You are the one begging me to be friends.
Okay, so I love how they cut to women eating, some of the women eating while this is going on. It feels very, again, vibes of like sitting there eating popcorn, watching drama go down. That's the vibe I get from it. So you have Karen and Charrisse going back and forth, and then you cut to these women eating. It just always makes me laugh when they do that.
Be friends with your ass. I'm just saying.
Come on now. Let's
Running
be very
me down.
clear.
You have made
Let's
everyone
be
in this
very
room
clear.
No, I'm extremely clear with you.
No.
Okay.
I'm
And then they keep getting these reaction shots of Ashley and Wendy, like, again, like they're spectators at a sport watching this go down, like laughing, you know, Wendy's laughing straight up at something that Karen said, really just because she's like, I'm watching this unfold almost like we are from behind our screens, but she's actually there.
I'm good with not even being friends with
Cool.
you. I'd rather you be a woman and just say, you don't want to be my friend, instead of going to other people saying stuff.
No.
Now, wait, let me...
Okay. So I'm not the biggest Charrisse fan. I wasn't even really a fan of her when she was on the show as a full-time housewife. I'm not a fan of her as a person. I'm just not a fan of her as a housewife because I think, honestly, I think she's just kind of too normal. I don't think she has a level of delusion in the same way that some of the other greats work. As I was watching this scene, I was like, why, you know, in my notes, I was like, it's not that I don't like Charrisse. Like, I would actually think Charrisse would actually be a good friend. I just don't love her on the show. And when she's having this very like reasonable, rational conversation with Karen, it makes me laugh because it's like, wait, what is she doing? Why is she being reasonable and rational? That's not what we do in these situations.
Let me
Excuse
finish,
me, no one's
okay?
talked about your ass in years. And don't question my womanhood, okay?
No,
don't do.
Okay, so of course they have to do this big stinger, big like boom, oh my gosh, how dare she say that?
In years.
Really the double meaning there is she's saying like, no one cares about you, you haven't been on this show in years and no one cares about you anymore. I think that's really a vibe that's going down. And of course, you know, big reaction from Wendy and Ashley with the sound effect to make it feel even more impactful.
Do that.
Why not? No,
You are
Karen,
just being
Karen,
rude, Charrisse,
it's
and we're not going to
being rude.
move forward
You're
on
gonna-
that level.
You're gonna say,
I
I
really
could have called you when I was going through a divorce. Did you call me to say, oh, friend, how are you? I lost my father. Did you call me and say...
Okay, so again, this feels very rational and reasonable to me, but I'm just watching it and I'm like, I don't know, like it's heavy. If you didn't care that much about what Charrisse is saying, it's because we just don't know Charrisse that well. Even to me, when she was a full-time housewife, I just didn't get that much. I just didn't get very close to her. I think she keeps herself a little bit guarded. I think she keeps a lot to her chest. She puts out a little bit, but when you're not involved in a character, when you're not really like invested, you're not gonna care as much, even though what she's saying is like so serious. Like, what do you mean you're a friend? Like, you didn't call me during these big life events? Like, we should all be like, on Team Charrisse, but I bet you if you really check in with yourself, you're still kind of like thinking about Karen, you know, feeling like not on Karen's side, but you're more invested in Karen. Let's just put it that way. So this fight is hard to get into and to really like totally be on Charisse's side because you just, I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong. Are you guys, do you feel invested in Charrisse? I would love to hear in the comments below.
And say, Charrisse, how are you doing?
Tell them what I did.
What did you do?
I text you and I sent you my condolences.
Oh, wow.
And you and I had, oh, yes, and that was all I had to.
So the music comes in. She says, what did you do? And the music comes in. Like, ooh, there's going to be a big, you know, reveal here. And then she's like,
I text you and I sent you my condolences.
Charisse's reaction.
Oh, wow.
And you,
that one made me laugh out loud when she said that, like, oh, this is, wow, you did this huge thing. You sent me a text and said, I'm sorry for your loss, basically. That just made me laugh. But the music to me was like, it's so perfectly setting up, like, Karen's gonna go into something big here, but it doesn't happen. So then as an audience, we're like, that didn't happen. So this music feels like it's leading to something. Since there wasn't some big reveal, what is it leading to? And of course we know it's leading to a fight.
that was all I had to give you because I had lost my mother as well. My parents are dead and gone now.
I'm sorry about your dad.
Me too.
Yeah. That was...
That flashback, oh, it made me sad. That was a good flashback for them to put in, obviously, because it put us in a space of like remembering how affected Karen is by these losses and how recent they are to her and probably how raw they are to her.
And I simply said to you, let me be very clear.
I drove and I was there.
You weren't coming from a good place.
For me
you were
say,
trying to get back your friendship circle.
Unlike anyone else.
This is where I'm going to have a problem with you because
That is true. She did go to the funeral.
Calm down.
Okay. So basically, Charrisse is just like, I went to your parents' funeral or your mom's funeral. And then Giselle, of course, comes in and says she did do that, right? And you see Karen, I don't want to say the editors are kind of showing her losing the battle, but a little bit of that, right? Like, she barely said anything to Charrisse on a text. Charrisse is saying, like, if you want to be my friend, be my friend. But if you don't, like, be honest with me. But instead, you know, you're kind of dancing around it or kind of talking behind my back or whatever. And, you know, I would say in a way that's kind of true. And so Karen, I do believe, again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, when she like lashes out, it goes really strong. She goes from like 0 to 100. And I think that's where we're headed.
What we're gonna do right now, I'm gonna check your ass on this. You will keep my mother's name out your mouth. Do you understand that? No, what you will not do. Yes, you are.
So they have her say the thing, you know, you'll keep my mother's name out of your mouth. They cut to Robin and the music goes out and Robin's kind of looking like a little confused. I think it's kind of like what we would be feeling. And I'm not saying that Karen shouldn't be feeling that about what she, you know, her mother, but I don't think Charrisse was saying anything about her mother. She was literally just saying, I went to your mother's funeral. I think it just feels a little bit out of place, maybe for everyone there and maybe for you too. You never know how these things, there's so much more to the story.
You're talking about my mother's funeral.
I'm talking
Charrisse, that is not your end to this group.
I'm talking about
that is not your end to this group. Disrespect my mother.
And when they cut to that wide shot of everyone looking at Karen, you can even see their faces are all a little bit like, whoa, what just happened here? Like, she didn't say anything about, like, everything feels just a little bit big.
Respect my mother.
Who said it? You keep bringing
Why
up
did you bring this up at the table? It's 5 years, Charrisse. My mother's gone 5 years this year. What you will not do is my mother. You understand? I will whoop your ass in this place. No, you won't.
Wow. So yeah, the music changes again. It gets more dramatic.
5 years this year. What you will not do is my mother.
It's got this like rumble to it, right? Everyone's kind of trying to pull Karen in. They pull back the camera on Karen. It's building, right? It's like a volcano is about to explode. It kind of already has exploded, but it should feel even more so like, oh my gosh, like she did something monumental. Now, again, I personally just don't believe like what Charrisse said should have led to this, but grief can cause you to do, can act in all sorts of ways, which I think Karen might be there. But also, I do think Karen might be also sort of trying to save face a little bit because I do think Charrisse caught her on a couple points there. Like, I lost my father, didn't hear from you. And Karen loves to kind of purport herself as like the friend above all. She can put drama aside and she's a great friend, a loyal friend. And I think that really cut Karen deep to kind of have that aired out that she didn't even really do anything but just say like, sorry for your loss.
I have no idea why I'm watching this geriatric fight happen. Like, this has got to be a big reason. Like, whose man?
Okay, so as Giselle's saying this stuff about the geriatric fight, they go back to the two, reaction shots, Karen sitting down and Charrisse being like, what the heck? And they have those, going back and forth on them, just as reference point of this geriatric fight, as Giselle says. Giselle I truly believe Giselle thinks she's like 25 years old. Like, I am not trying to age shame her. Like, I'm not 25 years old, far, far from it. So, but I just think it's funny. I think there's some people that just keep these things in their mind of like, I'm just a young, like, fun, I've done it. It's relatable for me. Like, I've been like, oh my gosh, like, I've been like, call my friends, like my girls. And then I'm like, no, we're grown women. We're mothers. We're so far from girls. Like, there's nothing, I don't want to say there's nothing young about us. Like, I feel like everyone's young, but I do think Giselle sometimes, like, the geriatric thing, I think like Karen's her age, right? Definitely Charrisse is her age, if not younger. It makes me laugh. It's relatable.
Whose man did Charrisse have sex with? One of your boyfriends, Karen? Shut the
Okay, so they went from this thing where Giselle says something that's kind of inflammatory, and they cut right to Karen saying, shut the to Charrisse, but it almost feels as if Karen's like responding to Giselle's confessional. And it did come out of nowhere, because just a second ago they were sitting down and they seemed like almost like they worked it and they had, gotten it all out of their system. I was just blown away at that cut there, that they went from this confessional to this giant blow up of Karen. And I think they just really needed the moment for the to be continued.
Keep my mother's name out your mouth.
And then, of course, during the to be continued, they cut to the ocean. Why? Because it's, dramatic and got so much underneath the surface, and just really, they're just playing with so many of these little symbolism things in this season's Potomac, and I'm here for it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me for this scene. If you aren't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give me a chance. You can always unsubscribe later. I have a breakdown of Dana Wilkie, this amazing scene with Dana Wilkie in it. If you guys remember Dana Wilkie from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I was on her podcast the other day and we had so much fun. I think I was super boring. I couldn't even listen to the entire thing yet, but I will listen to it. If you guys haven't heard it and you're like in her Patreon, then go check it out. But anyway, I broke down a scene of hers, so hopefully you guys will see that. And until next time.
No, it blew away. It blew away.
You have a tattoo?
I have 5 of them.
Oh.